Continuing on to the border of this wetting plate now, you can see there's this kind of interesting section here between these kind of florally flowing sort of designs. There's this kind of fancy triangle bit and then the circle below it. And the reason that's interesting as far as carving is concerned is, I think, the kind of interaction here in the middle where those join up. And it's a little bit tricky to kind of think about what that's going to look like or how to execute it once it does. So you can see another instance of it that I've completed over here where this ridge runs right down and it's moving down as it goes, but it continues to maintain that ridge, and then it meets kind of at the bottom of the chip up with that circle. So that's sort of what we're looking for on this, and it has the added challenge of doing a positive image circle on that. So we'll get started on that. Do my best to stay in frame here. So again, kind of a normal tactic here for going along the grain. Take off some of the excess wood there. Now I can get started. Some of this isn't necessarily going to come off very cleanly right now because I haven't done all of the surrounding areas. These chips all kind of interact with each other, so it's a little bit hard to necessarily do kind of the typical or ideal thing of one section at a time or kind of one chip at a time and move on. The chips are all interconnected and interplay with one another. So I'll just kind of remove what I can at this point, knowing that I'll continue in, and as I do this section I'm going to have to go deeper, and this bottom ridge is going to move a little bit this way and a little bit deeper, but I'll worry about that later once I'm doing that section. So now with that circle removed, and I see basically the deepest part right here, which is what's of interest to me at this point, I can move on to the triangular area. And so again, kind of typical technique here, put the knife right there at the beginning, try to line up the edge of the knife where it's going with the tip right here. Kind of make that a bit darker here. We've got the tip of that line, and then it comes up and kind of follows this curving shape. So that's what I'm aiming for as I drop the tip of the knife right there, kind of line that up, drive the tip down, hit that line, and just keep going smoothly out. And here I would like to start my cut up here, but with the grain direction that's going to involve a transition that I don't want to deal with, so I'm just going to start right here, kind of where the grain starts to transition, and come along this way. And as I mentioned in the other video, doing the leaves here with these kind of relatively large and irregular shaped chips, it's pretty typical for it to take a couple of passes for me to get them completed. So same thing on this side. Get the tip where I want, line up the edge onto that triangle. Make sure I follow that line. And then same process on this side. The first time I made this design, I didn't really take the time to figure out what the interaction was going to look like between these two pieces, and I was just kind of fumbling around with it. Wasn't sure what I was aiming for, and it took me a little bit to get it figured out. I don't think it necessarily was as good as I'd like, as clean, since I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. But by the time I was done with it, I had a good understanding of what it was doing. So just cleaning up some of the straighter lines there on this circle. Make it a little rounder. And I'd like these to be a little bit tighter in there. I've got it just a little bit off center, pulled to the side there, so I'm going to come in and just cut off a little extra more of that. I don't really want to change the shape further up at all. I just want to kind of line up this ridge so it goes more straight down and in like that. So yeah, another one of those. It's a little weird and unusual, but if you just follow the standard techniques of depth and knife angle, it all kind of works out. But it is definitely a good idea, I think, to prepare ahead of time and figure out what that's going to look like, so you know what